Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Welcome to the Valhalla of independent watchmaking. Assembled on this stage are the greatest watchmakers in independent watchmaking of our era, and I am so pleased to be your host for this. But first, let's congratulate some people on some anniversaries. Max Büsser, your book came out for 15 years of MB&F, but it's actually your 17th anniversary. Congratulations, sir. You may have luck. Felix, Baumgartner, and Urwerk, 25 years. That is amazing, sir. A quarter of a century. Vianney, Halter, 28 years in the game. And you look better than ever. Denis, Flageollet, 20th anniversary of Bethune. Félicitations, monsieur. Kari, Voutilainen, 20 years of Kari Voutilainen as well. Congratulations, sir. And Rexhep, Rexhepi, 10 years of your incredible endeavor. Congratulations, my friend. So guys, I think you probably are very aware the world is in the greatest and most torrid love affair with independent watchmaking. We can't get enough of these guys, and for a very good reason. As watch collecting has grown astronomically, the upper echelon of watch collecting has identified that there is no watch more soulful, more beautiful, more innovative, more creative, more beautifully finished than the watch that features the person who made its name on the dial. Every person here imparts a part of his soul into the watch that you receive, and I think that's absolutely magical. But many of you have recognized that these guys have been at it for quite some time, and I think you'll discover today that it has not always been easy. We will hear about their trials, their tribulations, the hardest moments and the greatest moments of elation as well, and to understand why I, in particular, hold each of these men in the greatest of esteem. Max Büsser created the Opus Project, the first project to truly uplift independent watchmaking, and through his eponymous brand, MB&F creates both modernist masterpieces with his horological machines, but also classical watches of incredible beauty with his legacy machines. Felix Baumgartner has created not only the most original language in watchmaking with three-dimensional time indicators, but also has pursued chronometry like no other, including the EMC, the first watch with a witchy machine built into it, and AMC, a pendule sympathetic with an atomic clock. Vianney Halter, he is the Rimbaud or Baudelaire of watchmaking, the greatest poet that I know. His watches of insurmountable beauty and incredible expressiveness. Vianney, I bow to you, sir. Denis Flageollet continues the great work of the masters of the 18th century, pursuing chronometry, but at the same time creating a language and aesthetic that is all unique and something that I truly treasure, and is incidentally the subject of the film that we've just made together with my friend Todd, who I hope is in this room, called Seeking Perfect, which premieres on September 1st here in Geneva. Kari Voutilainen has pursued excellence and quality like none other. He has upheld his brand with the greatest of ethics and continues to make some of the most stunning watches in the world, and is now the proud owner also of Urban Jurgensen. Congratulations, sir. And finally, Rexhepi, the youngest of this generation, but also one of the names that is now part of this hallowed mythology of the demigods of watchmaking. Rexhep, creative in both contemporary watches with Akrivia and classical watches with the RRCC line. I would even go so far as to say you cannot really be a serious collector of independent watches if you do not own at least one watch from each of these individuals, although that may be challenging in terms of allocation. Nonetheless, I want to turn the floor over to them. Max Büsser, why has the world gone absolutely crazy for independent watchmaking?
Thank you, Wei. Why didn't it get crazy before? Is the real question. Why have we been toiling like crazy, working like nuts, and for 15, 20, 25, 28 years and nobody recognizing it? Actually, seems to me the more accurate question. I honestly don't have an answer. I'm going to say it this way. The people who supported all of us over the last 2 decades were really passionate lovers of what we did. They intrinsically didn't care if they were going to lose their shirt, if they were going to sell our watch. Some would not, but they didn't care. And in the last 3 years, because demand grew organically but pretty quick, it seems that the secondary market price reached close to retail. And then suddenly, to that one crazy lover, ended up 5 pragmatic lovers who said, I've always loved what you guys do, but I wasn't ready to lose 50 grand. But now, if I lose 10 or not much, I want. And so suddenly, I don't know for them, for us, we've seen 5, 10 times more customers who've always followed us and suddenly go, now I'm going in. But that's maybe just one reason. Huh?
That's a fantastic answer, and I do agree that the asset dimension of it is probably compelling the popularity to some degree. But let's talk to Rexhepi. This is a man that makes 30 watches a year, right? And probably has for every one watch that he makes 1,000 people that would like to purchase them. But in the first 2 years of his creation of Akrivia, he didn't sell any watches, right? So Rexhep, why has the world gone crazy for independent watchmaking?
I think, honestly, everybody talking about the social media, but I think this is something today help a lot because you can be everywhere. And I think it really make the difference because today you can do in a watch, you can share, and you can meet some people more easily than before. For sure, I remember in 2012 when I launched, was a different story. Was a real different story, and I think it's one of the biggest reason. I think it's the social media.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, let's talk about independent watching. I'd be very interested to hear how you guys define independent watchmaking. Kari, Voutilainen, what is independent watchmaking to you?
I think that independent watchmaking, it's about independent. So for me, the independent should have an independence. For me, it's first of all, the financial independence like that I can decide. It's not somebody else who is deciding for me. So I think, starts from that, and then also that liberty of the creation. So I can do what I want. It means that I can do. So I do by myself. So I can do. So I'm not depending on my suppliers. Of course, we need suppliers, but at least we have a know-how to do, and we master what we are doing. So I think it's perhaps quite shortly said, but I think that those things are important. That's my opinion.
Amazing. Denis, voulez que je dise la question en français? OK. Pour vous, qu'est-ce que c'est la définition de l'horlogerie indépendante? Parce que chez Bethune, vous avez maintenant un investment de Watchbox, mais à le même moment, quand je pense d'une vision de horlogerie très pure, qui est extraordinaire, moi je pense de Bethune. Qu'est-ce que c'est votre définition?
En fait, tu fais des montres qui te plaisent, en pleine liberté, t'avances dans ton atelier, tu t'occupes pas grand-chose de ce qui se passe ailleurs, et puis un jour on te qualifie d'indépendant. Je crois que c'est pas vraiment quelque chose qui est pour moi, c'est presque naturel, quoi. Enfin, si tu fais ce que tu as vraiment dans la tête et que tu t'occupes pas de ce qui se passe autour, obligatoirement tu es indépendant et libre.
Bonne définition. Quand je pense, when I think about independent watchmaking, I think of different avenues for expressing yourself, right? I think of artistic expression, perhaps with a horological machine or Urwerk 210, but I also think about chronometric pursuit as well, as Kari Voutilainen has done with the use of a natural escapement and a hairspring that has both a Grossman inner curve and a Breguet overcoil. But I find Urwerk to be fascinating, Felix, because it has both dimensions. You are probably the most expressive in terms of an original language, but you've gone crazy also with the chronometric stuff as well, like with a watch with a witchy machine and with a pendulum sympathetic with an atomic clock. Tell me why both of these are important to fulfill you as a watchmaker.
Thank you, Wei. So I grew up in a watchmaker's house with my father restoring actually old clocks. And old clocks, the origin of these clocks are to be inventive, to be new. But there is also another aspect to be artistic. So you have for sure the machines of Ferdinand Berthoud, which are very all about chronometry. But then you have other clockmakers like the Campani brothers from Italy, who expressed somehow their art in their watch or clockmaking at the time. So this is how I grew up and what I've learned from my father, and somehow I brought that energy, that spirit into our days with our ideas, our fantasies between Martin Frey, my associate artist, and myself, a watchmaker. So we combine watchmaking and art in a very natural way today with the possibilities, with the materials we have to express ourselves. So, and we have created that very slowly but surely during years. So we were able to finance this in very little steps. So we are proud and happy today to be really the direct owners and the direct people who can decide. And this is to answer to your last question, to the independency.
Thank you, sir. Vianney Halter. Vianney, en anglais ou en français? I'll try in English. Same question. You know, you make some of the most daringly original watches. You actually make the watch that I don't own that I would most like to own, which is the Antiqua, right? You also have done probably the most crazily ambitious watch of all time, which is the Opus 3, right? At the same time, you're making watches now with the phenomenon of resonance, which is a chronometric watch. What is more appealing to you, the creation of something expressive or the pursuit of chronometry?
Very strange question. It's difficult to answer that because I'm not attracted by the chronometric side of the watchmaking world. And also I like to create things and to explain my point of view for the artistic side also in this business and in this work. And it's impossible to say this one is better and catch more my attention than the other. I know one thing. It's very important to explain what you are, and at the end, to explain that, the artistic side, it's maybe stronger for everybody or for the common people around the world to understand maybe something. After that, in our world with colleagues, if you create some chronometric or complicated things, yes, but it's very precise and it's more with my world to exchange something. It's maybe also to remember I wanted to be watchmaker to count the time and to create a timekeeper. But now only timekeeper is not the matter. It's also what you think and what you want to share. And artistic side, it's quite very important.
Totally agree. Max, I want to kind of shoot this back to you. You were famously adverse to seconds hands, although I guess you have now two because you've got two chronographs in one with the sequential. Is chronometry ultimately important to expressive watchmaking?
Look, we are guardians. We are the last guardians of something which is soon going to disappear, which is artisanal watchmaking. And I think you need a reference that it not only has to be beautiful, it has to be precise. So there is a basic minimal precision and, of course, reliability which goes with it. It's not only crazy artists doing cool-looking stuff. The engineering of what we all do and the watchmaking is incredible. So yes, we've got a basic, let's say, precision we accept. But I'll just take a step back. In the age of bullet trains, we are creating steam engine locomotives. So putting a turbo on a steam engine locomotive is not exactly a thing which makes me excited. It's creating the most beautiful steam engine, but it has to work well.
That's a great answer. Okay, guys, I want to ask you all this question, right? Because everyone looks at you now and considers you to be these amazing success stories. And it's true now, like for any watch of any of these gentlemen on the stage, it's really hard to get, right? But I know all of you have struggled. I know all of you had moments where you even doubted if this was going to work. Maybe I'll start with Rexhep, because Rexhep, I was very touched when you told us, about how in the first 2.5 years of the creation of Akrivia, people would come to you, they would look at the watch, they would say they would love it, but God damn it, no one would buy it, right? Tell us what happened, and actually, who was the first guy that actually bought one?
So yeah, for sure, it was again, it was quite challenging because sometimes you don't understand today, because you know when you're 25 and you do something in your workshop and you think just about yourself because you want just to create your piece. I can understand you cannot meet somebody quickly, and not so much people can trust you, and giving to a guy at 2,500 and something thousand to a guy. So I totally understand. So to say frankly, I'm maybe not the best to respond to this, but I understand in some way. But for sure, we have to be a little more open. But it was really complex. It was really complex.
And who bought the first watch?
The first watch was a guy from my country. So yeah, it was really supportive. So I say to him, very thank you. But yeah, I think this guy believed. And I think since 2017, honestly, a lot of people really take a lot of risks. So thank you for all of these guys. So yeah.
Amazing. Kari, you had an amazing challenge that actually resolved you to be even more independent. Tell us about this challenge that you faced related to dials, how you had no income coming in, and what you did about it.
Well, so 2008 we started to develop our movement, and it took 3 years, and then we were doing already our dials in the way that we were measuring the base, doing the engine turning, and then I couldn't do the galvanic treatment, so the colors and or the finishing on it. So I had to ask dial factories to do that, and had such difficulties to find. And then 2013, we had a series of watches, which was 25 watches. Those watches I did sell during the Basel Fair, and we had all the prototypes done with the dial factory in which we were working at that time. But at that time, that company had changes of the property, the changes of the director, and suddenly my staff was put it aside. And after Basel, well, of course, I was waiting dials, and I was waiting almost 6 months. And as an independent, so we can plan deliveries, but I can't plan sales. So of course, summertime people are on holiday and not necessarily thinking watches. And I had a very tough time, that 3 months without any incomes, and it waked me up completely. And exactly in the same time, in our area, there was one company, dial factory, which went into bankrupt, and I was lucky enough to buy that thing. So that was like it helped me, and today, of course, we can help other people and try to do things that it works.
Thank you. Denis, je peux vous demander, dans les 20 ans de Bethune, qu'est-ce que c'est le moment le plus dur?
C'est une question très difficile, oui. Il y a eu beaucoup de moments difficiles, il y a aussi beaucoup de moments de joie, et puis comme vous le savez tous, les moments bien, les bons moments effacent souvent les moments difficiles. Donc j'ai vraiment beaucoup de peine à répondre, mais j'ai toujours eu cette chance de pouvoir me retourner toujours, en fait, et quand il y a des problématiques pendant des moments de produits qui ne sont pas reconnus, qui ne se vendent pas, qui ont des grosses difficultés, et tu continues à faire ton travail dans ton atelier, et c'est les moments qui étaient pour moi souvent les plus créatifs aussi, parce que j'avais envie de sortir de ces problématiques, et donc tu te plonges complètement dans un autre monde, dans ton monde vraiment technique ou esthétique et artistique, et tu t'évades, en fait, et c'est souvent là que tu as des bonnes intuitions et que tu as des bons résultats. Donc en fait, tu transformes assez facilement ces moments difficiles en moments intéressants. Et puis comme je suis quelqu'un qui, comme beaucoup le savent, pas du tout mercantile, ça m'a jamais vraiment posé vraiment de problème, en fait. Donc je crois que ces 20 dernières années, je les ai vécues plutôt heureuses.
Do you guys want me to translate that, or? No, we're good. Vianney, what was the hardest moment for you over the last 28 years?
To meet you.
I agree.
Yeah, because now it's a very complicated future together. But no, I joined the explanation from Denis. Yeah, I know it was not easy, and now it seems very simple to make watches, to have success, to sell, and to create your brand and to start in this business. But it was not the case in the past, and not so far in the past. It was completely the opposite. And I remember also to work a lot and to forget exactly why I was working. Only for myself, like a child with a hobby at the bench to create things, or to find a way to survive and to find some cash to pay your bills. And this, it was a quite hard time because you lose your innocence, young innocence, to go in one world where you think everything will be great and nice, beautiful. But Denis are right to explain the nice things erase the bad experiences. Maybe you keep some experiences of the bad things only to avoid instinctively to go again in the same place or in the same way. But at the end, the past is the past, and it's nice to remember himself, themselves, the story. But it's nice also to look further in the future and to project things positive and very well for everybody. And I continue for myself to spend my energy with view in front of me and not behind.
Very well said, sir. Felix Baumgartner, in the last 25 years of Urwerk, in the last quarter century, what's been the moment that challenged you the most?
To be on podiums like this, for example, it's it's the first exhibition, Basel World '97 for Urwerk, was kind of extremely a douche, a shower of cold and hot. Wow. We had really people who were catastrophed by our expression of how we work and what we do. And we had other people which were really impressed and very, very open to our new way of taking watchmaking. So we had a guy from New York, an art dealer, who was extremely positive, and he ordered us 3 pieces at Basel World '97. And it took us almost 1 year to finish this 3-piece order. Actually, we had a total order of 5, so we made the 5 in parallel. And when we shipped these 3 pieces to the US, we really finished this with our last money, with our last energy. It was really what all we had was in there, and we depended a lot on that payment. And the guy told only 1 piece out of 3 arrives in New York, and actually we knew afterwards, a few years after, that he got all the 3 of them. So we got somehow hooked up. So and that is exactly what Vianney tells. We thought we are watchmakers, so we believed that all people are good out there, but for sure there are sharks. And we came quite in a pool of sharks when we started Urwerk. But that, I agree with Denis, brings you in a moment of big solitude, because you have to struggle with your existence, with how to pay your bills, how to exist. And in these moments when you become kind of a rebel and a provocative, and you have this energy of fighting against that moment that gives you an extreme, the existential fight gives you extreme creativity also. So it brings you, it also learns you things. What doesn't break you makes you stronger. And this, I think this is what we learned our first 6-7 years at Urwerk.
Great answer. Thank you so much, sir. Max Büsser, can you tell us what was one of the darkest moments for you?
There have been some big downs during the first years, of course. I've had the time to think while my friends were talking. Clearly, it has to be 2006, so I create the company in 2005, and I give the responsibility to develop the first movement to a company in Le Jura. And so they were supposed to develop it, manufacture the parts, and assemble it. And initially, it was a honeymoon. It was incredible. And then, like, between July 2005 and April 2006, they managed to come out a working prototype. It was incredible. And I'm going to say in May 2006, they have financial trouble, and they sell their company, a bit what Kari lived, overnight to a brand. That brand clearly didn't buy the company to make third-party movements. So that was very complicated, very, very complicated. And then on the 8th of January 2007, they told me we were already late in delivery and everything, that they would not assemble the movements. And I was all alone in the company, and luckily for me that day, in that meeting, for I don't know how, but karma is amazing, Peter Speakmarin was with me. And it's the only time of my life I groveled. I was pleading with the guy, like, please assemble my movement. And he said no. And at some point, Peter just took my arm, he said, let it go, we'll deal with it. It's like, how the hell are we going to deal with this? This is 2007. If we all remember, 2007 was a pretty cool year. Everything was selling like hell. And I couldn't find a watchmaker for the love of money. And that, I got out in a daze from that meeting and got into the car, and Peter took his phone, and during the hour and a half back to Roll, he started calling all his independent watchmaker friends saying, my friend Max is in trouble, and everybody's like, who the hell is Max? But like, we need to assemble his movements. And they all said, no, I don't have any time. And to all of these guys, he's going to say, you owe me. He's going to pull his personal favors for me, the people you'll never forget in your life. And we end up 2 weeks later at his workshops with 5 watchmakers. One I knew was Laurent best, and the 4 I'd never met. We had 5 kits with 300 components. There were 50 missing out of the 360. We didn't have the assembly plans. And Peter told the 5 guys, now we're going to try and assemble this movement. They were like, are you fucking joking? and it took them 5 months to assemble the first movement. I was completely out. All my money had gone. All the money I'd taken from the retailers was gone. And we managed to deliver the first 2 pieces in June 2007, which was like a week before I was going to file for bankruptcy. And you know, some incredible things happened. Amongst those 5 watchmakers was a young Northern Irish watchmaker called Stephen McDonnell amongst them. And that's how I met Stephen, who many years later was going to create our perpetual calendar and our chronograph. So I thank the guy who bought that company because we survived and I met Stephen.
Amazing. And you did the Allen Perpetual with him and now the Sequential with him as well, which are amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to ask the question that I think everyone here wants to know. Guys, how do I get allocated a watch? No, okay, like seriously, like how do you, because, okay, we'll start with you, Rexhep, 30 watches a year. If you only sell the watches to the guys that bought the watch before, you never grow the base of your collector, your collector group, right? So how do you choose?
We're trying to be the most honest possible. So for sure, the first who ask about the watch, we're trying to give them. For sure, we have to share, and this is why we're trying to explain to every collectors who got, for example, some of the watches, to trying to leave the others coming. And yeah, but it's really complex because you met many people who are. Some people are more passionate than others. Some people look at different things, and honestly, it's the bad side, I think, because again, I come back to this what you explained, all you guys, and then it was hard. So personally, I don't want to forget all this bad time I had, and you are every time afraid about what can happen tomorrow, and so you want to take care all of them. But for sure, like you say, we're trying to do 40. If we can do more, I will do my best. But we have some standard. We have some philosophy I really want to respect. And yeah, but it's really hard. It's really hard. And yeah, sometimes I want to have some solution, but I don't really have solution.
Understood. Kari, two other wonderful independent watchmakers, the Gronenfeld brothers, basically posted on their social media last year, we're not accepting any more orders. Which to me is kind of like breaking up with a girl through text message. Like I feel as if like you got to be a little bit kind of like cooler about that, but I love those guys anyway. Kari, how are you dealing with the massive delta between the amount of people that want your watches and the number of watches you're capable of making, and how do you select?
Well, I'm doing watches and my work as a passion, and I try to share the passion. And then, luckily, our customers, they have a passion for the watchmaking, for the watches, and I like to share that. I don't make a selection, but I have to say that there have been, sometimes I have been refusing because it has been perhaps other reasons to buy that, not passion, but perhaps. So, but I don't make any selection. With a customer, we can share the passion and get along. So the problem is that delivery time is getting longer, but yes. I don't say no.
Denis, vous faire entre 250 300 montres par année. Est-ce que c'est possible d'agrandir la société sans perdre l'espoir? I'm asking, he's making between 250 to 300 watches a year. But, for example, François-Paul Journe is making close to 1,000 watches a year, but there's still many more people that want to buy his watch than the watches that are available. I'm asking Denis, is it possible for him to grow in a way that maintains all his vision?
Oui, alors, cette année, ça sera 220 normalement à peu près, donc on a encore un peu de marge pour arriver à 250 et 300. Donc oui, on peut augmenter. Je crois que ce qui est surtout important, c'est de garder la qualité, évidemment. C'est de garder aussi la passion de tous les gens qui travaillent au sein de la manufacture chez nous, de faire ce travail de qualité et d'aimer le faire. Et je crois qu'on peut pas, quand on parle de quelques centaines de montres, qu'on a 100 de plus, ou ça, c'est toujours possible de former des jeunes, de les motiver, d'agrandir un petit peu un atelier. Ça, c'est pas un problème. Je dirais que simplement, un indépendant, il peut pas dépasser les plusieurs milliers. Enfin, si on veut rester dans notre travail de base, je crois que quelques centaines est normal. Elle est même bien utile parce qu'en fait, ça permet quand même d'avoir un cycle de travail et une façon de travailler qui nous permet de garder ce savoir-faire manuel et de le transmettre. Ça nous permet d'avoir des jeunes, d'avoir des apprentis, d'avoir du monde et donc d'assurer un certain savoir-faire, un certain maintien, ce qui est beaucoup plus difficile quand on fait, pour l'avoir vécu, quand on fait beaucoup moins de pièces, parce que on a beaucoup de peine en fait à faire un suivi, c'est difficile. Donc je dirais de passer de quelques centaines de pièces, c'est tout à fait normal pour une petite manufacture, et je pense qu'on peut amplement garder la qualité sans trop de problèmes.
Merci beaucoup. So just to quickly translate what Denis was saying is actually, in some ways, it's actually positive to grow, because when you have reached a certain level of watches, you're able to transmit the values of what you know from a watchmaking perspective to the next generation, and actually there's a responsibility there as well. I would like to ask the three gentlemen remaining the same question. Gentlemen, would you ever accept an investment in your company? Vianney.
Yeah, I explained just before when it's difficult, you are looking for some solution. And maybe it was also in my thought to imagine to have a financial partner to support my work and maybe to do something in this world to make a profit and to make money to help me. But at the end, I'm still alone, and at the end I'm happy to be free and to be the only commandant on board. Sometimes it's difficult, but it's possible also to get what it was your target and to follow your own vision. Of course, I think it's very nice to have some financial support, but from my point of view, you have to sell something, and maybe one part of your brain or of your thought. And for me, it's less and less close. And I prefer now to continue at my age, at my time in my career. Now it's more and more difficult for me to imagine to have a financial partner. It's easier to imagine to have a collaboration with my colleagues and to share maybe some success with them, but less with only the financial side.
Felix, I kind of know what you're going to say, but anyway, would you accept to have a financial partner?
No. I say that quite often, but okay, sure, say never, never. But I grew so slowly but surely, and we are so well balanced at Urwerk with a team in Zurich, in Geneva, which is here for a long time, and we are doing that very organically. So growth, yes, but in a very moderate way. So growth for us is like 5 to 8% per year. Now we are very close number to Denis with 210, 220 watches this year. So if it in that way, for us, it's absolutely possible to maintain our spirit, our quality, our values in what we do. And to do exactly these three values, I have to keep my freedom, financial freedom, and I have a big problem with authority. You know, I need to decide by myself, and I cannot have someone. For sure, we are a team, and we have our family, and I listen for sure, but I cannot have the power, influence of a finance institute telling me what I have to do. This is not why I started Urwerk.
Thank you, sir. Max Büsser.
My eldest daughter, first name is Mila, with an M. So her initials are MB. So I've got a bit of hope, but she's only 9 years old. So she better mature quickly. Because I've always said that there are basically three ways of getting out of a watch brand. You either go bankrupt, you sell it, you die, and then maybe you give it on to your kids. But giving it on to your kids was never an option. But now it's sort of thinking, because it wasn't an option because it was so tough. For so long, it was so tough. And you don't want to wish that to your kids. And of course, you want them also to actually love that. But now I'm sort of thinking after 15 years, 17 years now, it's the first time I actually feel I'm happy. An interesting thing is up till 6 months ago, nobody's ever offered to buy our brand, which is very humiliating. But nobody came to us. And so now suddenly people are coming out of the woodwork saying, we want to invest, we want to buy. And like, dude, I'm finally happy. It's actually a moment I want to rejoice. And maybe I can start thinking that in 10, 15 years, my daughter or daughters would take over. We'll see.
Okay, we're going to wind this up soon, but I just want to go through the panel one time. Rexhep, you famously worked for François-Paul Journe. I know you were a fan of him, not just from a watchmaking perspective, but also from what he's achieved from his legacy as well. Who is the watchmaker that inspires you or that you admire?
Okay, so I would say this because they are here, but no, for sure. You know, like a watchmaker, I think when you like watches, when you want to create something, and when you start to create something, you have respect for all of other people more experimented than you. So I have a lot of respect. I think every watchmaker here has something, and we was inspired by something. But for sure, you know, what I like is, you know, I like the aesthetic. I like the decoration, and yes, I really like the innovation. So I'm trying really to put it all together. So I will take many of watchmaker and I will put it all together, and why not? But yes, for sure, today I really appreciate what François-Paul Journe did. I like his aesthetics. And yeah, but I can speak for many other watches here for these guys. So yeah.
Kari, is there a watchmaker that you admire today in particular?
Well, what inspired me is Abraham Louis Breguet, because I think that he was doing such a, I think, very modern watches at his time, and he was able to run his workshop and all his struggles and starting again, and then survive all this political religion crisis and able to sell in France and England. People were fighting. So he was incredibly talented as a watchmaker, incredible talent to run the company, and the sales guy. I mean, I think that's, brilliant. For me, I think it's incredible. And also the production, what he made at that time, and the creativity and the quality. So I think that's what has been inspired me by seeing those watches and reading the history about Abraham Louis Breguet.
Denis, on discute souvent le horlogère du XVIIIe siècle, de Harrison, de Le Pin, de Breguet, de Bethune, anti-Janvier. Est-ce qu'il y a une horlogère que vraiment vous inspire, de ancienne ou contemporaine?
Il y en a beaucoup. Il y en a beaucoup. Effectivement, tu viens de citer plusieurs horlogers qui m'inspirent beaucoup. C'est vrai que toute l'horlogerie du XVIIIe, qu'elle soit anglaise, qu'elle soit française ou suisse, m'a beaucoup inspiré. L'horlogerie Renaissance aussi m'a beaucoup inspiré. Donc je crois que c'est très difficile de citer un nom particulier. J'ai envie de citer quelqu'un qui n'était pas reconnu comme étant horloger, mais qui était l'ingénieur du roi Louis XV, qui était passement, qui avait une vision assez impressionnante des objets, qui pour moi était, je pense, avec Anti de Janvier, quelqu'un d'assez exceptionnel et peu reconnu. Puis si je dois citer quelqu'un actuel, je citerai Vianney parce que je trouve qu'il devrait être beaucoup plus reconnu que ce qu'il est actuellement.
Just to translate that, Denis was saying that there's many people from the 18th century that truly inspire him. One in particular is Anti-Janvier, but if he was going to talk about a living watchmaker, well, he loves what Vianney Halter is making. Vianney, le nom de votre société, c'est Janvier. Est-ce qu'il y a une horlogère ancienne ou contemporaine que vous inspire?
Yeah, the same answer than Denis. It's difficult to have only one watchmaker who inspired me very very well, or until Janvier, of course, because it was one star I wanted to follow in the sky. But if we want to joke a little bit, Kari is fascinating me a lot, because so calm, so quiet, and so much successful, and so skilled man, and he's a watchmaker, contemporary watchmaker, yes. Unique and at the top of his art and at the top of his success. And I have a very strong admiration for him.
So do I. Felix Baumgartner.
I was talking before from the history side. Okay, I'm a big fan of Berthoud, Ferdinand, Janvier. Also some English, Joseph Nipp, Clement, Thomas Tompion. So there are a few of these Picassos, clockmakers around. The Campani brothers were quite interesting because there are three brothers. One was a clockmaker, one was an optician, so he made actually the first lenses for Galilei, and the third one had very good connections to the Vatican, so they were able to present all this work to the important people in Italy. So the Campani brothers somehow influenced, for sure, Urwerk and myself a lot. And if I have to give some flowers today to living watchmakers or entrepreneurs, I think Wei, you took the perfect brochette here of watchmakers absolutely. So really, congratulations, because all these guys are inspiring me also today.
Cheers, brother. Thank you so much. Max Büsser, last and final question.
I have a soft spot for underdogs which are not recognized. So I would like to say Derek Pratt. Let's just think of Derek and what he did. And on another note, I don't think MB&F would have existed if this young man hadn't created Urwerk. I remember seeing his 103 and being blown away. And it's the first, you guys, Martin, you and Thomas, allowed me to think there is a three-dimensional watchmaking. It could be a sculpture. You're the guys who opened the door, so thank you.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, can we now open the floor to questions? Anyone have a question? We good? In that case, gentlemen, Max Büsser, Felix Baumgartner, Vianney, Halter, Denis, Flageollet, Kari, Voutilainen, and Rexhepi. Thank you so much, guys. It's been wonderful, and I really appreciate it. And I think these guys do as well.